We've got the last of the qualifiers for the number one contendership fatal four-way match. We've got Mark Andrews versus Noam Dar 2. And in the main event, can Pete Dunne confiscate Walter's UK Championship? Gentlemen, raise your beverages. It's an NXT party.
Support, no DQ.
Welcome everybody to the NXT party for episode number 44 of NXT UK. I am your host, the Rated R reviewer, Stephen Osborne, joined for a second time by Vigo the Carpathian. And I won't bother asking him how he's doing. I do know it is just a poster. However, I have two live guests tonight. Special guest number one, the holiday Chris Mace. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing good.
And special guest number two, the Birdman of Boston, Owen Finch. How are you doing tonight, Owen?
Doing well. It's morning for me, but doing good. It feels good to be back. I haven't been on in a while because I've been so busy, so it's good to be back doing NXT party again.
It is great to have you. Obviously, the elephant in the room, Jerry the General Slaughter, is missing for this tea party. Very sadly. He really wanted to be here. Unfortunately, fatherhood calls and had a school event, had to be there. So we wish him the best, hope it's fun, and we miss you, Jerry. I did offer to postpone this a day so he could do this with us, and he said, you got to strike while the iron's hot. We're already 2 days late, so go ahead and do it. And we appreciate it, Jerry, but let me tell you, he's going to have a major influence on tonight's review no matter what. Because when it comes to the main event, Jerry called it all. And if there's any fans out there that have been watching this show from jump, I'm sure you've probably heard him go off about it. We will get there. There's only 3 matches in this card, which makes sense because the main event is a championship match and it's given some time and importance. So let's start at the beginning. Travis Banks versus Joseph Connors. This is a qualifying match, the last of the 4 for the Fatal 4-Way match that will determine the number one contender for the WWE UK Championship. I had to say I was figuring Travis Banks was going to win this, if only because he's the babyface in this match, and we've already got 2 heels in the Fatal 4-Way already, if you count Dave Mastiff as a babyface. So I pretty much figured Travis Banks was going home with the big V or W or victory, win, whatever. Let's start with Owen. What did you think about this opening match?
I really liked it. I think this is the first time these two have squared off in WWE in general. So I liked it. But yeah, I'm the same with you, Stephen. I figured Travis Banks was winning. The only way I saw Joseph Connors win is if they wanted to have Dave Mastiff look really strong in the 4-way match and, conquer 3 heels. But also because Travis Banks has been pushed more than Joseph Connors, which sucks because I actually think Joseph Connors could be a big deal in NXT UK. But,
I agree.
But yeah, I still really enjoyed the match. And I thought it was very back and forth. And I hope they do a feud with these two in the future. But that would be nice. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It definitely was back and forth. I've got a few notes here. What was your take on this match, Chris?
Honestly, I wanted Joseph Coffey to win, to be honest with you.
You mean Joseph Connors?
Huh?
You mean Joseph Connors?
Yeah, Joseph Connors. I don't know why I said Coffey. I wanted him to win. Like I said, I wanted to have it where Mastiff had to take on 3 heels and build him up to be as strong as possible. So if he does win the Fatal 4-Way and becomes number one contender, like I said, it makes it a little more realistic. He has an opportunity to face the winner of tonight's main event, which we'll get to later. But I was pleasantly surprised Travis Banks won because I don't have much faith in him, but I was happy he won, and he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And he actually had a really good match, so I was impressed with that.
Yeah, my notes for this match is, from the beginning, Banks is dominating with kicks. I mean, he's a striker, obviously, the buzzsaw, they call him, but just a lot of kicks. But he ends up out on the apron, and Connors trips him up, drops him face first onto the apron, and then picks him up and drops him face first onto the ring steps. Those ring steps, and those in that corner specifically, the babyface tag team corner, Those are his nemesis, I do believe. I think every other week, Travis Banks gets sent into those fucking ring steps. But anyway, Connors, a little bit later in the match, hits a something. I swear I should have probably seen this before, but I don't think I have. A slingshot bulldog. I thought that was pretty cool. And then he hits a sunset bomb on Banks, sends him into the corner, gets a near fall off of that. That was his last opportunity, really. Banks comes back, ends up hitting the slice of heaven, which is like it's like a trouble in paradise, but it's coming off of the middle turnbuckle. And then the Kiwi Crusher, which is a fisherman's Michinoku driver. Pinfall. And we figured it. You want two baby faces and two heels inside the ring. Because Mastiff is big and he's powerful, but I don't think he could fight off all three. Like, if you're trying to tell the story that Mastiff doesn't win, and it makes sense why, then yeah, you put those three heels in there. But otherwise, I pretty much figured Travis Banks was going to win. After the win, Radzi gets in the ring for an after-match interview, and Banks just kind of sort of puts over his other opponents, you know, saying that Joseph Connors, not Joseph Connors, who are the other two? Joe Coffey injured him. Jordan Devlin injured him. And he said Dave Mastiff, well, actually I kind of like Dave Mastiff, but he is really big. So he kind of puts them over, but he says it doesn't matter if you're a king or a bomber or an ace, he is still going to win. Kiwi Crusher is going to win. So that's what that was. And it was over. Up next we had a Nina Samuels promo. She's back in front of her mirror with congratulation cards everywhere. Apparently her fans have been sending her cards congratulating her on her title opportunity against Toni Storm. And she calls Toni Storm a puppet, because she puppeteered her into not only granting her a match, but making the match for the NXT UK Women's Championship. And of course she says she's going to win it. What do you think about her here, Chris?
I like the promo. She's pretty much what she did. She played mind games with her to get what she wanted. She wanted to match Toni Storm for the Women's UK title. She got what she wanted. She played the mind games, got into her head, talked about her family and everything, got in her head and got what she wanted. So I'm waiting to see what happens next week with this match.
What about you, Owen?
I agree with Chris. I like this promo a lot. I really like, how she does these promos like an actress would talking into the mirror, because if you kind of seen actresses and stuff, you believe that they would do this, so I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I really like the promo, and I actually kind of can't wait for this match next week. I thought it was exciting. I never thought Nina Samuels, too, would be in contention for the UK Women's title, because she was pretty much enhancement talent, like the beginning.
She still is. They built her up to lose.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
She's not winning.
I never thought she would at least get a match for the title.
I am going to disagree with the both of you fellas. I don't like this at all. I don't like her gimmick. Therefore, I don't like any of these promos. It hits way too close to home. The reality of the situation is, IRL, all of them are actors. All of them. This is not a gimmick. This is sort of just exposing the fact that she is an actress. And maybe the gimmick is that she is a non-kayfabe actress, but she takes herself way too fucking seriously. But that's not a good gimmick. So I'm not a fan of this. The sooner she gets in the ring with Toni Storm and loses and goes back to the back of the line, back to the Jobber Squad, the better for me. Coincidentally, that match is going to happen next week, and so that is probably going to be the main event for next week's show. Honestly, though, if these two women can bring good matches out of each other, it might be worth watching. I'm not going to hold my breath, though. Any last thoughts about these two?
I think they can have a good match with each other too, because I think they wrestled in the first episode of NXT UK, and it was pretty good. And I think the match would be better because there's more at stake on the line. So I think the match could be.
Do
really
either
good.
of you see Nina Samuels taking the belt from Toni Storm?
Absolutely not. I think this is just going to be someone for Toni Storm to beat. I don't think Toni Storm's going to lose the title unless it's like someone like against like Kaylee Ray or Piper Niven or something like that, or even Jazzy Gabba, because that ties into this show. So
Maybe. So up next we get a video cap of Mandrews versus Noam Dar from, they said, nearly 2 months ago. It hasn't been that long, maybe 6 weeks.
No, it hasn't.
I don't think so.
Maybe 5 or 6 weeks. But this is setting up for our next match, our second of 3, which is going to be the rematch. Mark Andrews versus Noam Dar. I'm really digging Mark Andrews' costume or his ring gear. He comes out in all orange at all matches. You guys should know I love orange, and was digging. Gave me a reason to dig on Mark Andrews. What did you think about the match? Oh, did you go first last time? Let's start with Chris.
Yeah, I'll do Chris first.
What did you think about this match here?
I actually loved this match. I thought it was a good. At first, you start off with a good, feel-good moment. Okay, yeah, Mark Andrews. Like I said, we all know that he pretty much, faked his injury. Like I said, it was storyline. But as bad as it looked, when Noam Dar got hurt, as bad as it looked, I remember we did the review video on that one. It was bad for him, so I'm glad it wasn't a serious injury. It was a well-done match. The ending of it, I thought that was well fucking done how they did the ending to the match.
Yeah, but who didn't see that coming? As soon as it started, I knew it was going to happen. Because, well, we'll get there. I'll get there. I've got a few notes in this, so I'll break it down in a moment.
Yeah.
What about you, Owen? What did you think about this match?
I really liked it too, and I really liked the finish as well. Even though I didn't see it coming, I still thought it was really well done. And yeah, I just think these two can really put on a clinic. I'm surprised they haven't had a match before NXT UK because they've both been on 205 Live and things like that. But I really like this, and the finish I thought was awesome. And afterwards, Noam Dar on like WWE.com did like an interview talking about how now he's like an Emmy Award. And
Wait,
he even
say
says,
that again? He did an interview saying what?
That he's possibly going to get an Oscar for this.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Being a heel. And, he even like tries to put into question whether he was even injured the first time around. Obviously he was, but I'm just saying kayfabe-wise.
Right.
So I really like this. I like the way they did this. I think because I think this was going to happen anyways when Noam Dar was going to win, but then obviously they had to push it back because of the injury scare. But I like the way they did this. I thought it was well done.
There is only one problem I have with this, and I will get to that actually later in the show because I don't want to spoil anything. But for me, I tried to just sit back and enjoy this match. The beginning of it was just that show of respect. You had a quick handshake, but that was it. There wasn't a whole lot of like showing of respect necessarily, like a deliberate handshake. Just a real quick one. And then it was the chain wrestling and the dodges and the not reversals and not blocks. Just the two of them knowing each other so well, apparently, that they just dodge everything that they're trying and nobody gets anything in edgewise. So just it shows the ring story of respect and sort of friendship. Not really, but anyway. My first note is Mandrews, because Dar's got an ankle lock on him, and he rolls through it, and he hits this, gets hit with this pump kick by Noam Dar that was just sick looking, a left-legged pump kick for a near fall. Mandrews does end up hitting the Stun Dog Millionaire, which didn't look like your typical setup, because Noam Dar did a few moves into the suplex attempt, and it didn't look like your typical vertical suplex either. Then Mandrews hits a Tope Con Hero over the top rope onto Dar, and this sets up the ending of the match. This match wasn't terribly long, but it wasn't really all that short. I didn't have any notes to take because it was stuff that we've already seen and talked about before. Just those moves that were innovative and new and great the first time, but this time it's just like, if you want to see this match, watch this match. But after the Tope Con Hero to the outside, Dar starts selling a knee injury. Same knee. And he gets into the ring, and the ref is checking on him. And he says, I'm fine, but he looks like his knee is distressed. The ref backs Mandrews off. Eventually, Mandrews comes up, and they realize that Dar is not going to be able to compete because Mandrews goes to Irish whip him, and Dar just levels. He just falls to his butt. And so Mark Andrews shakes his hand, and the ref goes to call the match. And as soon as they both turn around, Noam Dar gets up, puts a wicked forearm to the back of Mandrews' head, and then he comes from the corner with, I'm not really sure, it was Noble Roller maybe? Something like that.
It's Nova Roller. Nova,
Nova,
Nova.
Nova Roller. Those British accents, sometimes I can't tell what they're saying. So Nova Roller, which is running high enziguri. It's almost like a Trouble in Paradise without the spin.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the pinfall for that. And Noam Dar gets the victory. And there you go. Any last words on this match?
Go ahead.
I even liked how Mark Andrews was acting, like how he actually thought he was injured because, it tied into the first match because they both actually did get an injury scare. So, I really liked how he actually thought he was injured, and he actually felt bad for it. But it ended up being, his undoing because if Mark Andrews had just been a little bit more aggressive, he could have gotten the win. So, but I even like that.
Chris?
I think that my two critiques too is at the beginning. This is where it's kind of showing the signs of respect is a good thing to me because after what happened in the last match, just them showing that quick sign of respect, I can deal with that as long as it's not every single time,
right.
Every single match we're seeing a sign of respect from everybody. And I think at the ending of the match, what I liked about it because it could make some people have that suspension of disbelief where. Okay, if he had just fell on, he was selling his knee at first, and then everything happened, it'd been like, oh, you knew that was going to happen. But when they backed him up and he went to get him up, tried to do another move, and he fell back down again, it could have been that suspension of disbelief that, okay, maybe he did really get injured again. But then when everything happened, that's why I liked it so much, how well they did it. They just didn't do the basic, oh, he's hurt for a minute and then faked it. They milked it for a little bit.
Well, if he had really been hurt like that, the match would have gotten called sooner. If you notice from the previous one, the ref threw up the double arm X really quickly after it happened. In this case, I knew it was Noam Dar basically reeling in as he did the little reel in.
Yeah.
He was baiting Mandrews. It was obvious from the beginning because if it was a real injury, the whole thing would have been called a lot quicker. And it made sense for it to be kayfabe anyway because of the way the last match ended and the fact that Noam Dar suddenly turns babyface in their interview, the two of them with Radzi last week, or maybe the week before, who knows. But it was an okay execution for something I saw coming anyway.
I think they had him go babyface too because I think they knew when he came back he was going to get like a big pop, so they had to kind of run with that too.
Yeah.
Well, especially teaming with Kenny Williams against James Drake and Zach Gibson. So yeah, it kind of makes sense for him to have to return heel. Speaking of James Drake and Zach Gibson, Razzie catches them coming into the arena, and they just got there, I guess. Yeah. And he wants to interview them about Mustache Mountain, who has called them out for a rematch for the Tag Team Championships. What'd you gather here, Owen?
Just like I said, I thought it was basic promo. They're trying to avoid Mustache Mountain. They're pretty much saying they run the tag division, they pick the matches, they do whatever they want. I don't think so, because when Saint makes the matches, you're going to do the matches anyways or be stripped of the title, so you're going to do whatever they tell you to do.
Or Sid Scala, for that matter. Or Sid Justice, as Cassius Ohno calls him a little bit later. What did you think about this interview here, Owen?
I liked it. I'm all for seeing a rematch. I think the biggest takeaway I actually took away from this was that James Drake actually spoke. Because, that was
first.
Cool. Because he never talks. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I even kind of liked how Zach Gibson. I actually thought like one of the GMs was going to come up after he said we don't make the matches because typically in wrestling if the heel says that the babyface GM will come up and say actually we make the matches. But
Right.
I kind of like that didn't happen this time. I don't know when they're going to do the rematch because I feel like that's saved for like a UK takeover, but I don't know the next time they're doing one. So maybe they're going to do it on NXT UK TV. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rematch when they do. I'm kind of glad that it's finally being set up now too, because Mustache Mountain isn't just saying they want a rematch. You can make the argument they actually own it because they've had a lot of big wins lately. So I'm excited about it.
Well, what I liked about it was Gibson made me laugh at the end when he told Radzi to go back to the door stalking new people to interview. He called him a creep.
Yeah.
That was great. So after this, we get Rhea Ripley come out, and at first I thought we were going to get a women's match here, but no, she was not in ring gear, and she did not do her ring entrance where she stomps to the music. She's just come into the ring to say a few brief words, and that is really literally what we get, a few brief words about Piper Niven. What'd you get out of this, Chris?
They're setting this match up, and like I said, Piper Niven to me hasn't delivered, so to me, they haven't really built her up to me to be a credible challenger for Ripley. So, I mean, I have no excitement for this match. When she first debuted, I got really excited, anticipation of this match, and then after seeing Piper Niven I think she's had 3 matches so far and on TV, and after the first match, I hadn't been impressed with the last couple matches at all, and they've been like, haven't really been building this up for the last 2 or 3 weeks either, to me. So now we're going back trying to build it up again. It's like I'm not really looking forward to seeing it because I have no faith in Piper Niven right this moment.
And
they haven't built her up enough to be credible for Rhea Ripley.
Well, this promo by Rhea Ripley didn't build the match up really for me either. I love Rhea Ripley. She's badass in the ring and she's got a great look, but as far as her promo skills, this was not a good example of them. What'd you think about Rhea here, Owen?
I thought it was fine, but it just seems like, they waited a bit too long. Like, I like long-term booking and everything, but it just seems like this isn't even long-term booking. It just seems like that they really haven't done a whole lot to really build this match up. Maybe because, too, they did the, WrestleMania Access shows, and that kind of messes up what I noticed with the NXT UK, storylines and stuff, because they don't do anything, really. They just kind of do those. But I don't know, I feel like they could have just done a whole lot more. Like, it just seems like they've waited too long to do this match. I feel like they should have already done the match by now. What I also thought was weird about this is it cuts the commercial on the network, and it seems like that when they taped this, it was like a different day because you felt the energy in the crowd was different, and Vic and Nigel were advertising the UK title match when we already knew it was coming. So I don't know if they tape these shows different days and just combine them, because it was really weird, something I noticed, because it's something I never really seen before.
Or they shuffled the matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last before the main event, we have Cassius Ohno, as I previously mentioned. He drags a cameraman, much the way Bianca Belair did on NXT the other day, or yesterday, or 2 days, whatever. Anyway, he drags the cameraman to Johnny Saint's office. This is the big moment for him. He gave Sid Scala a week to figure out what they're going to do with him, and he was hoping to get into the qualifying match for the Fatal 4-Way. But instead, he goes in and addresses Sid Justice, as he calls him. Takes a seat, spreads out in the love seat next to Sid, who tells him they thought about it and they wanted to actually announce it to him publicly, but this will be fine. And next week we're going to get Ohno versus Jack Gallagher. And I don't think that's exactly what Cassius Ohno was looking for, but he seemed to accept it and sort of be excited about the match. I'm not really, but then again, it could be a really great match. Who do you think's winning this, Owen?
I would imagine Cassius Ohno's winning because he's more full-time on NXT UK. Jack Gallagher's on 205 Live most of the time. But yeah, I agree with you. I actually like this segment, and I actually like Cassius Ohno's character in NXT UK, where he's just like a douche, pretty much, thinking he's better than everybody else. I enjoy that more than what he was doing in NXT, and I really hope he keeps this up because this is easily the most interesting he's been since his return. I also think it's funny too that they tried to pass this off as like Sid Scala and Johnny Saint's office, when you could totally tell if you look at the setup that this was not an office. It was like some boiler room or something that you would see like underneath the arena. This was not like a typical office setup. So that's kind of the few takeaways I took. And I like too when they do the backstage segments, how they feel authentic. Like you just saw the cameraman just hanging out or something like that, and Cassius Ohno just went and grabbed him. I thought it felt like it was like a legitimate segment versus something that was set up.
True. So we are on to the main.
Oh, wait, what about Chris?
Chris, what did you think about this here?
I was actually kind of disappointed in it. And the reason I'm just disappointed in it was because I feel like Cassius Ohno, he's wanting his opportunity. He wants to be able to challenge for the title. He's getting in there, and then he's like being such a smart-ass heel, going, okay, who I got, and talking about what's the good news, and you get gentleman Jack Gallagher, and I love 205 Live, because 205 Live does matter. But it's like one of those, if I was him, if it had been me watching the story, I've been pissed off. Wait, I wanted a UK title. Wait, I would have started throwing stuff or threatening him or just started yelling at him. But he's just being nonchalant, being smart ass, going, okay, that sounds great. All right, that sounds great. Like, okay, you wanted a title opportunity, and you're acting like you're not pissed off or upset at all about it. You're just being a sarcastic, facetious heel on this.
Yeah. That is true. So, now we are on to the main event. And I'm going to go ahead and break this down first because I'm going to represent the General, Jerry Slaughter here when it comes down to the ending of this. And I don't want you guys to give away the ending before I have a chance to reference Jerry and his prediction, which was exactly what happened. So, towards the beginning of this, a little bit of chain wrestling. Walter ends up dodging a Baszler stomp, and by that I mean, the stomp to the back of the elbow with his arm like this. He dodges that, goes for a chop, and Dunn fucking ducks the chop. So you've got a little bit of the same kind of story. And this is the thing I was talking about in the previous match. There's going to be a lot of similarities in what we saw previously. Dunn starts working over Walter's left hand and arm, like he's on the outside. He stomps on his hand on the steps, that kind of shit. Walter hits a big boot, though, outside, and then does a drop kick, sends Dunn into the barricade. Back in the ring, Dunn drops Walter with a forearm. One forearm. Walter's flat. Like, almost could have taken a pinfall there. And Dunn ends up putting on this abdominal stretch that looks a lot like an octopus stretch, but he grabs the arm, and instead of bringing it around, he grabs the fingers and he starts pulling on them. You know how he does. And Walter gets out of that. Well, no, he doesn't. Fucking Dunn ends up turning it into a crucifix. Walter tried to get to the ropes, but he gets a crucifix bomb for a near fall out of the pin attempt. Uh-oh. Chris is gone for the moment.
No,
okay.
Well, he's just on video right now.
So,
there you go.
And he's back. Out of this, Pete Dunne goes for a bitter end, but Walter ends up reversing it and hits a big fucking clothesline. And then he ends up going up top, but Dunn catches him with a super kick, but not to his face, to his hand. That was interesting. And he goes up top and goes for a triangle while Walter's sitting on the top turnbuckle. And Walter picks him up out of it, goes for a powerbomb off the middle rope, but then Dunn fucking flips it into a Frankensteiner, gets a near fall. Let's see. Walter goes for an Austrian suplex, standing switch, Dunn turns it into a German. Of course, same move, but, different guys. And then Dunn goes off the ropes, comes back, and Walter just turns him inside out with a clothesline, gets a near fall. Walter goes up top, goes for the splash, but Pete Dunne had already gotten up, hits him with a forearm to the face, and then he hits the bitter end and turns it into that triangle, and then flips Walter over with his arm back, and he starts doing the finger pull, and that's the move that so many guys have been tapping out to. Well, just as Walter's trying to get to the ropes, we see Eichner. Fabian Eichner comes out, and he pushes the ropes so that Walter can hook his foot on him. Ref catches him, and he makes a snap decision to get out of the ring and completely disregard what's going on back there to try and get Fabian Eichner out of there. And instead of just saying, "You're out of here," he just keeps arguing with him, which leaves time for Bartel, that's Marcel Bartel, Fabian Eichner's partner, to get into the ring with the UK Championship and plant it across the back of Pete Dunne. But Walter at this point is down, and he's looking the other way. So he doesn't know this is happening. But he turns around to see Pete Dunne laid out, and he picks him up. He hits him with sort of a crappy looking powerbomb #1, but he does that teeter-totter gay looking pin where it puts all of his weight on him. And Walter gets the pinfall. Now the question here at this point is, what's going on between Walter and Eichner and Bartel? Like, did they just come out and do this, or is Walter in on it? And they get in the ring, and Walter stares him down, and then Walter does his pose with the title. And then Eichner and Bartel, they pose next to him, flanking him. And it looks like this is a faction. It really, because Walter was talking to him like buddies, not like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing in here?" Like, "Thanks for the help, bros." And they just stood there and posed, and that's how we closed the show. And Jerry called all of that, every bit of it. Not necessarily the whole match, but the entire scenario of the match leading into Bartel and Eichner helping Walter, and then us not knowing if Walter was with them or not, just for Walter to be like, "Well, I kept my title," and that was how. Brilliant. Loved it. What did you guys think about it? Let's start with Owen.
I loved every bit of this. I really love the match too. One spot you missed that I really liked was when Pete Dunne stomped on the hand of Walter onto the steps, but that was awesome too.
Yeah, I said that. He also did a double stomp on both of his hands in the ring. That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved every bit of this. I thought this rematch really delivered. I really love how they went with the Walter heel. Now it's time for a heel for a while to run roughshod in NXT UK. So I think that would be awesome. And I'm really all down for this faction. I think this is going to lead to a faction war between, whatever this faction name is going to be, and, Mustad, the British Strong Style. So I'm really excited about this. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I loved every bit of it.
Or even Gallus if Joe wins the Fatal 4-Way. I mean...
Yeah, possibly.
Any three-man group. I mean, then you could have war games with the 3 teams of 3. That would be cool too. What do you think about this main event, Chris?
I thought at first we were getting the same style match we got at the Takeover show, and what I liked about it was Dunne seemed like he learned from some of his mistakes. Like when Walter went for the power bomb, he was actually reversed into a Frankensteiner. Like I say, it seemed like he learned from some of his mistakes that he made when he lost the title. But I mean, to me, I thought it was interesting how Bartel, oh my lord, I'm gonna go brain dead for a second, but how they came out and like I said, they cost Pete Dunne the match. But me just being a wrestling match, as built up as this match was, I would have wanted to see a finish, but it's so hard to me. It's like, okay, yeah, Walter just won the title. You're not going to have him drop it to Dunne, back to Dunne, but then you got to keep them both looking strong. So I pretty much think that was probably the best decision they made to do.
Well, there was a finish. It was just a fucky finish. And yeah. I think you told the story. Pete Dunne learned from his mistakes, and like he said in his promo a few weeks ago, he learned how to beat Walter, and Walter figured out that Pete Dunne might just beat him, and so he had the backup plan of Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel, and he used it, and it was a fucky finish, yeah, but we got a pinfall, and we got a decisive winner, and I'm all in favor of all of this. I thought this was a great idea when Jerry predicted it. I just wasn't sure if that's where they were going to go because Walter was being so successful as a tweener. But this, unlike last week where I thought they were definitely showing that he was babyface, this is definitely him being a heel. So Jerry called that again. It was the red herring. That promo last week where he was just sickeningly babyface, just so much respect towards Pete Dunne. Complete red herring. That was throwing you off the trail so that he could win the match via heel means.
Support, no DQ.
Now that brings us to the end of the main event for episode number 44 of NXT UK. And normally we would go around the horn and rate the main event using NXT. Specifically 5 spots of NXT. Unfortunately, as soon as we started rating the main event, the battery in my external microphone went out. And there was a buzzing noise, and that's all you heard. And none of that footage is usable. So I will go ahead and reiterate what I know that Owen Finch and Chris Mace's ratings were for the main event. They both gave it a 4 3/4 spots of NXT. For Owen, it was straight up 4 3/4. For Chris Mace, it was 4.5, and he added an extra quarter spot of T for coming off of a great show. As for me, I was not as high on the match. I really enjoyed it, but a lot of the match seemed like it was rehashed from Pete Dunne versus Walter 1. But I did go ahead and give it an extra quarter spot of T, which landed me at 4.5. So a little less, but still pretty up there. I really enjoyed it. You can find Chris Mace on Twitter. You can find Owen Finch on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stefan. If you just want to look me up on Twitter, it's at Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. As always, the R stands for restricted. You can find Jerry Slaughter on Twitter at NoDQGeneral. And you can find both me and Jerry, and in fact, you can find everybody in the NX team, including Chris Mace and Owen Finch, in Armbar. That's all caps ARMBAR exclamation point. That is our Facebook group. Also find me and Jerry and these shows on Aftermatch Wrestling. That is our YouTube channel. These shows go up a few hours up to a half a day earlier. They are in HD on Aftermatch. That's all one word, AFTERMATCH, Aftermatch Wrestling. We are on our way to 100 subscribers. At 100, we will start doing our NXT review, What's NXT Live. And if you like our video, you should click the like button. That's underneath this finger. And if you like all of our videos, you should click the subscribe button. That's underneath this finger. And if you are already watching us on Aftermatch Wrestling, do me a favor and click the share button and share us on Facebook, share us on Twitter, share us on YouTube. Help us get to 100 subscribers. And click that bell icon if you are subscribed to Aftermatch. That'll let you know when we finally reach 100 and start going live on Thursday mornings with What's NXT. So thank you for joining us. No longer pictured, but still in our hearts, for the Holiday Chris Mace, for the Birdman of Boston, Owen Finch. I am the Wizard of No DQ, Stefan Osborne. Thank you for having a spot of NXT with us, and we will see you NXT time.